The prompt for day 18 was growth. So I've done this sort of, it's a default cube, but then it cuts open and it's a cake and then it goes to the sphere. So to do this, I did this kind of max, min, and subtract the centered coordinates. That coordinate node group is just generated minus 0.5 times 2. So that's sort of an equivalent to object coordinates. So I've used that max, min, subtract, and that's giving me this, the controls for a cube. Or what I did was I did two halves of a cube and then I flipped them up like books next to each other. So I've got the proper cube shape. I need to do this because when I cut through it, I need internal geometry on those cut faces. So I couldn't just do it as a regular cube because then it would just be a void. So setting up the actual cube was quite easy, and all I've done here is I've taken the back wall of the cube off, masked it off with a displacement mask, and then making a smaller alpha mask the shape of a knife. So I'm just doing a absolute subtract maximum length, and that's giving me rounded rectangles. So I've got one for the handle, one for the knife, and then I'm using distance, I'm taking circles out of it. So able to get the knife quite quickly here, using the handle mask twice, so that the alpha is it has a value of 2 basically, and that means I can get my displacement twice as thick there. Just sorting out the alpha for things, making sure I have the correct parts masked. I've got the line going around the center there, that actually cuts off the connective material between the two halves of the cube, and then I just need to take that off the blade. So sorting out a little bit of this animation using the add, rotate, subtract method. In this case I'm using a rotate and another vector add so I can get the translation sorted. And I'm basically using a mix array, which is maybe a technique I'll do a video on, but basically it allows you to have a slider. In this case I'm using an invert slider between 0 and 1. And then if you multiply it by the number of mixes that you want, and then for each sequential mix you just subtract 1 from it, and that lets you basically stack mixes one in front of the other. So like 0 to 0.2 becomes the first mix, and 0.2 to 0.4 becomes the next mix, and so on. So I can have many different positions and rotations and just have them all controlled by the one slider. I found that as I was rotating, because I'm doing this kind of bending action, it's actually breaking the corner of my cube. So I just need to make sure that I'm masking off that corner, making it transparent when we reach that final position. But to avoid it appearing as a hole there, like you can see, I need to make sure that it's not doing the alpha mask at the beginning. There's a few different bits of animation on this cube. It opens up front to back, which is the main one, but it also opens up top to bottom as the knife goes through it. So you see here, I'm just making sure that the animation control also controls the alpha mask on that corner, just to make sure that we go from that everything opaque to cut off the corner as we move through. There is the obligatory fade to sphere and the clay wipe as well. So I know how to do those now. I've done them for everyone, so I'm just putting those in now. Sorting out some materials here. I want the cube itself to look like the default cube, so that's quite simple, just roughness of 0.5 and a plain just off-white material, like a very light grey. And then the interior for the cake, I just did these. Subtract absolute maximum length, and that gives me the rounded rectangle on the top face, which becomes the inside face when this is folded together. So that gives me the mask for the red, if I'm doing a red velvet cake here. Now I just need to add a couple of lines for icing. And for that I just took the X gradient, which goes left to right, and did a ping pong and then a less than. So I was able to get the positions and the spacing quite easily there. Then just those masks, they get used for different colours, and roughness, subsurface scatter, bump, things like that. And there we have it.